Today I'm in a suburb in Denver, and I want to tell you how amazing it is, how I'm in various states across the US in my travel journeys, and yet I see so many things that are the same. I marvel at that. I think it's awesome. It's comforting. It binds us. Most people, when they're making travel videos for Instagram or YouTube, they just go to the fancy natural parks or natural scenes, and they showed just the differences. And yeah, I think there are differences. I mean, here there's Red Rock Amphitheater, which is very different. That's probably the one place where there's like actual like rock formations that like you have to kind of drive out of the city for that. And that looks incredible. You've seen my videos on that, possibly if you're a subscriber. That said, how many people really highlight the similarities? And I think you might be like, well, what's so good about similarities? That's just boring. That just means we're all the same. That's not interesting about travel. I disagree completely. You know, similarities bond us. You know, so many people create racism, discrimination, hate because of differences in race, sexual orientation, gender, religion, skin color. Even, you know, people of the same country in certain foreign countries and even in the US, they will still have a lot of discrimination just based on different dialects or areas within that country they've lived. And so I think there's a lot of power in that similarity. And that's not to say, you know, everything should be loved and you should agree with all people and none of that. I'm just saying there is a lot of beauty in similarity, and the similarity I see is this suburb in Denver with these little houses and driveways and the way the houses are designed and the cars up front. It's not that different from Virginia or Maryland or I mean, it depends on the state. I mean, you get to Florida, then it starts to change. I mean, palm trees are everywhere. You get to New Mexico, even the house types are different. They're more like clay houses. And that's exciting too. That's what makes life interesting. But, you know, for me, as I've said many times in my vlogs and videos, the similarities, they really also bring us together. I mean, even in Austin, Texas, there were suburbs I drew by, more so in the countryside, not in like city, that were like this. And it was just very comforting in a way. Yeah, there were differences there. There, you know, in Texas, Houston and Austin, while there are suburbs here, it's just like different. Like Houston, like there were like inclines and declines with the road, and the road was much more cluttered, and there's a lot more what I would call it like grooming that had to be done with the grass up front. It was like kind of ingrown and it was pushed together. And then Austin, there was a bit of a harshness to it. I don't know if it was because it was the harshness of how hot it got in the summer. The houses were similar, but it was almost like kind of very similar, but almost like they didn't put in as much work in the house because it's just, I don't know why. Maybe it's just so hot that like, but also very similar suburbs. It's kind of hard to describe. But, you know, if you go back in my archives, you can see it all. I filmed the suburbs of Austin when I first arrived. And there's just a beauty in that, I think. So here's the Denver, Colorado. Very different from the state just south of here, New Mexico. And from what I heard, it's mostly because there's a lot more water flowing through this area, which leads to a lot more green. Yeah, it's starting to look like the East Coast, you know, in many ways, which is very surprising. It's not that different from Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia.